Hi everyone, Christian here from Success Resources, and we are about to get started very shortly. Get ready because tonight we have something very exciting. Robert Kiyosaki, the acclaimed author of Rich Dad Poor Dad, number one personal financial book of all time. With over 30 million copies sold, he will be with us in just a moment. Now, if you're wanting to learn the secret of how to think rich, escape the rat race, and build true wealth, you're not going to want to miss this. Now, I will get to the interview in just a moment, but first, let's welcome our special guest host, Kian Wong, who will be joining us from New York. He will be interviewing Robert. Kian is the founder of Start Producer Academy and is a top personal branding and video marketing expert. He's not only an Oscar contender film producer, he's shared the stage with the likes of Gary Vee, Shark Tank's Diamond John, and he's also produced 7 figures online marketing campaigns for the best of the best, such as Tony Robbins. Please welcome Kian Wong. Kian, over to you.
Thank you for the kind introduction. Great to be here and super excited to be interviewing Robert Kiyosaki himself, and a very warm welcome to everyone from around the world. You guys are going to be in for a real treat. Now, just like many of you, Robert's book and work have really truly transformed my life. If I can share my story very quickly, like 20 years ago, when I first came across Rich Dad, Poor Dad in Australia, which is where I was living back then, it truly inspired me to move from the employee mindset and the employee quadrant to now business owner for almost 20 years now. And I have Robert to thank, really. And perhaps more importantly, I've been able to pursue my passion, while working from home, just with a laptop, traveling the world with my family because of the wisdom and all these incredible strategies taught by Robert. Now, if you've just joined us, I can see people popping in over the last few minutes, almost full. If you just joined us, welcome. We're going to be getting started with Robert Kiyosaki any minute. And we're here to talk about how to think rich and live free with none other than Robert Kiyosaki, our very own rich dad and best-selling author of Rich Dad Poor Dad, with tens of millions of copies sold around the world. But let me ask you this. Why are you here? What is your big why? Perhaps you want to escape the rat race. Who here, hates the traffic, driving to work and, dealing with all that office politics, right? Perhaps you just want to retire a little bit earlier. You want to build, true wealth for your family, even if you don't have a, high-paying job or, hot, fancy .com business or whatever. Regardless, stay tuned for Robert, because he's going to be sharing with us how he's been able to inspire millions of people around the world over the past few decades to become financially free. And regardless, this exclusive live webinar with Robert is going to help you demystify what it really takes to achieve financial freedom in today's economy. Now, please do take plenty of notes, stop all the distractions, turn off your cell phone and good old Facebook, because at the end of the webinar, we are going to have a very special gift for you, especially if you want to see Robert live in person, or perhaps even have dinner with him. Yes, he's going to be coming to a city near you as part of the Wealth Masters Global Tour, Think Rich, Live Free. He's going to be in London in early May, Warsaw, Bucharest, and later on in the year, Johannesburg in September. So stick around, especially for those of you who submitted questions. Thank you for the dozens and dozens of questions that we got online. Promise it's going to be worth your time. So, drum roll. Let's invite the one and only, without further ado, please welcome the one and only Robert Kiyosaki.
Hey guys.
Hey Robert, how you doing?
Very good. I haven't seen this since New York.
New York is actually a little bit cloudy. Wasn't as beautiful as the day we had when you came down to Central Park, and we had a nice interview back then. So appreciate that, and great to have you back online, and so we can be getting the latest and greatest from you.
Thank you. Looking forward to this. Looking forward to being in London and Poland and Romania. Great countries.
Absolutely. That's just in a couple of weeks away, so you'll tell us more about that, I'm sure, a little bit later. So jam-packed for the next, 50, 60 minutes. Get ready to roll. So Robert, let's get straight into it. You wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad, one of the most famous financial books of all time, over 20 years ago now. And you published the book before the internet, mobile phones and social media and whatnot. Why is the book still relevant today?
Which book? Rich Dad, Poor Dad?
Yes, Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Well, because very simply is, the story of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. My poor dad was most people's dad. He was a PhD, head of education for the state of Hawaii. Very smart, good man. But as you know, most school teachers know nothing about the subject of money. So when I was 9 years old, growing up in Hawaii, I went in search of somebody who could teach me about money, and that was my rich dad. And as you may know, unless you're living on a rock, this gap between the rich and everybody else is so wide right now, it's now dangerous. We had this guy, Ray Dalio of Bridgewater, one of the biggest hedge funds in America. He's on a campaign right now to figure out a way to reduce the gap between the rich and everybody else, because if it gets much worse, we go into social unrest. So there's many, many, many people today, like young people coming out of school, and they may have, let's say, $45,000 worth of student loan debt, but they can't make enough money to amortize that debt. And you have old guys like me, a baby boom generation, and they don't have enough money set aside for retirement. So within the next 10 years, we're going to see the rift between the rich and everybody else explode. So I think there's a few people just kind of getting it right now. They're kind of saying something's wrong in the economy, and it's not like it used to be where you could just get a job and retire. Those days are gone. So I think that's why Rich Dad Poor Dad is more relevant today than it was 22 years ago when I released it.
I mean, it's a little bit scary what you were saying. I mean, the rich are getting richer and the poor, the gap, the divide. A lot of great thinkers like Ray Dalio and the likes have been thinking about solving this problem, including yourself. What advice do you have for, let's say, for the younger generation? When I read the book, I was in my early 20s. So you've got 3-4 million followers on Facebook. A lot of them are young guys in their early 20s. What's your advice to them?
Well, I think you have choices. You can either invest in your financial education or not. I mean, that's what it comes down to. They don't teach what I teach in school, as you know. And what they teach you in school is just go to school, get a job, work hard, save money, get out of debt, and invest in a well-diversified portfolio of stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and ETFs. And that's not what I do. That's probably one of the biggest. I'm afraid those people who are following the diversify and live below your means and invest in the stock market will be the next casualties when the next crash comes.
So crashes, you're talking about crashes. I mean, they happen like clockwork 10, 15 years. We had the big crash in, 87 for those of you who remember, 89, I beg your pardon, right? And then, there was the 97 Asian kind of crash and then the big one in 2008. So every 10 or so years, and what are we now, right? Another already 11 years past 2008. Do you feel like there's one just around the corner? And if so, a lot of people, are they going to be prepared for it?
Well, to pretend there won't be a crash is like pretending that, this winter, summer, fall, everything is cyclical. So all things in life are cyclical. They're the same as markets. They're cyclical. And so we're coming up, and as some of you may know, is that after 2008, instead of fix the problems the world has, is not just America. America's in serious trouble. But rather than fix the problems, they made the problem worse after 2008 with this thing called quantitative easing. The scientific term is they just printed money. And they printed so much money, this world is in serious trouble right now. Although the economy is booming and stock market's up and real estate's high, My concern is it's built on debt. It's just on debt. It's not real solid economy. And then, like I said, you have all these baby boomers set to retire, and most of them don't have enough money to retire on, and many of their pensions are tied to the stock market. And I'll say it again, the baby boomers, the millennials got screwed. In 2009, President Obama took student loan debt away from the banking system and gave it to the U.S. Treasury. And what does that mean? The government took over student loan debt, and anything the government touches is bad. I don't care what you do. The government's incompetent. So today, instead of student loan debt went through the roof, today it's 1.6 trillion. It's bigger than the real estate bust of 2008. So you have millions of these millennials who went to school. The school system ripped them off by giving them an inferior education, but kept raising the prices on them. And now the millennials are stuck 1.6 trillion in debt. How dare we do that? How dare we do that to our young people? And yet our school system will never teach you about money. So that's why nothing has changed since I wrote Rich Dad Poor Dad 22 years ago today. So that's why I speak and I write and I say we've got to do something pretty quickly, because the old guys and the young guys are in trouble.
No, it's absolutely crazy. I'm in my mid-40s. When I went to university, back in the day, or this in Australia, we call it university, and we're showing the England and so on, the similar terminology. It was not that expensive. It was a few thousand, dollars or whatever it was. But now we're hearing people graduating on 50, 100,000 in debt. You could buy a house with that type of money. It's crazy.
Well, there was this one idiot is $250,000 in debt, and she has a Master's of Arts degree. She's never going to pay that debt off.
That's unbelievable.
They just know nothing. So anyway, that's why I write. That's why I speak. That's why I formed the Rich Dad Company. And that's why I go on tour and I talk, because no university would ever have me come and speak on their campus. Because I think the criminals are in the school system right now because they just jacked the price of education up and they're delivering subpar education. That's my opinion. I'll stick by it.
I couldn't agree more. The price of education is, formal education has gone through the roof. It's one of the biggest, I won't say scam, but it's ridiculous how expensive it is. All right, so let's talk about solutions, right? We know that there's a massive problem, that the school system's not teaching us about money. We're not getting properly educated. Our parents don't know any better. Actually, let's go back to, you came up with this most incredible story, the true story of your rich dad and your poor dad. How did your rich dad learn about money? Because people are going to go, all right, where do I get my education from? Because I'm not going to get it from school, and there's too many thousands of books out there. How did rich dad learn about money, and how did you first learn about the truth about money?
Well, if you read my book, I grew up in Hawaii, fourth generation Japanese American. And my poor dad was a PhD. He attended Stanford, University of Chicago, and Northwestern. And he was head of education for the state of Hawaii. Whereas my rich dad was a man whose father passed away when he was 13. And so he had to drop out of school, which was a blessing to him because he had to take over the family business. So where did rich dad learn about money and business? At 13. He had to sit down there, listen to his bankers, his accountants, his attorneys, his stockbrokers, his real estate brokers, his insurance agents, and all this. So once a month on a Saturday, he'd have a meeting with all of his advisors. And that's where he learned about money. Rich Dad would talk about, this is the problem I'm having today, and his advisors would help him solve it. I do exactly the same thing. So when I'm on tour through London and Poland and Bucharest, you'll meet some of my advisors, and many have read my advisors' books. The message is you don't have to be that smart to be rich, but you do have to have a good team of advisors. And the reason so many school teachers are poor is they actually believe they have to be smart. They have to know all the answers. That was my poor dad, PhD. PhD stands for poor, helpless and desperate. You know, unfortunately, my dad lost his job, and then he found out how poor, helpless, and desperate he was. He knew nothing about money. And nothing has changed, Ken. Nothing has changed. What does school teach you about money? Nothing. They'll balance a checkbook. Big deal. Big deal. You know, so that's why I keep going, and that's why I keep traveling the world. Sometimes I wish I didn't have to, but it's a great world to come and see. So I'm excited about coming to London and Poland and Romania to speak this time, as well as South Africa. I love South Africa.
Fantastic. We're looking forward to it for sure. We'll give everyone the dates a little bit later on in the webinar. Now, you talked about how the importance of, you know, you don't have to be super smart to get rich, right? A lot of people just assume that you just got to know everything, and you know, it's a team sport, as you often say. You know, how does one become better at this team sport? You know, where does one begin? You know, to put it, you know, where do they find the right partners, the right advisors? There's so many people who pretend they're just salespeople. They're just selling you financial products. They may not know truly how to help you where you are at, you know, the particular moment in their finances, and how to take them from there to financially free. You know, developing sufficient assets so that there's enough residual income to not necessarily have to work. So, you know, what's your advice to people who are brand new? They realize they need the financial education, but they don't know how to find the right team of people.
Well, that's the next big mistake, you know, besides telling you have to have all the answers by yourself and having a team, which they call cheating. In school, if you ask for help, you're cheating. That's funny. But anyway, the biggest thing mistake that school makes is to tell you don't make mistakes. I mean, how in the world do you learn if you don't make mistakes? Think of a baby. Baby stands up, falls down, stands up, falls down, and they keep standing up and falling down until they can walk. That's success. But if the little baby was in school and fell down, the teacher would spank him and say, "You're stupid, you're never going to walk," and they, you know, put him back in the corner. Look, the way I learned was failing so many times, but every time I failed, I got smarter. You know, my first big business was a nylon and Velcro surfer wallet business. Success was horrible because it got so big I couldn't finance the operation. It was rock and roll. I did rock products for Duran Duran, The Police, Van Halen, Boy George. Same problem. So much success, we couldn't keep up with demand. My third business was a financial education company. Same thing happened. But you know, I said, "Well, you're a failure." I said, "Yeah, every time I failed, I got smarter." And the same thing, now why am I so successful? Because I failed so many times before. Got smarter every time.
I think you're absolutely right. The schooling system, if you make a mistake, you want to go for 100 marks, right? You don't want to make any mistakes. So we're getting into this kind of overly fearful self-sabotage mentality of whether it's investing, we're too afraid to invest. Let's say in real estate, you know, borrow money, right? Or, you know, too afraid to get started in your first business. What I'm hearing is get started, do something. Don't bet too much that you can't, you know, overcome anything that you know, will kill you financially, so to speak. But get the education, but get started, whether it's investing in, you know, whatever. But get started. Is that kind of your advice?
I don't know about that. Look, everything they teach you in school, I don't do. And that's why I'm rich. Okay, so I have a team, which is called cheating. I make this called being stupid. And another thing, I use debt. People say, well, you have to have money to make money. You just have to know how to borrow money. And then I don't pay any taxes legally. I mean, it's not that hard to do. So, you know, people bitch about taxes, but figure out a way not to pay them. So when I'm on tour this trip, I'll be there with my accountant, Tom Wheelwright, author of the book Tax-Free Wealth. We'll be talking about taxes. But what happens when Tom and I talk about taxes and debt? People pucker up, man. They get so afraid. They can't think. That's the problem with going to school, because what we say is so anti what mommy and daddy and the school system taught them. Look, debt and taxes make you richer. Debt and taxes make the poor and middle class poor. That's why we have this huge gap right now. So when the markets crashed in 2008, I thought I died and went to heaven. Look, crashes make the rich richer also. So we're coming up on the biggest crash in world history, probably in the next 2 to 3 years, 1, 2, or 3 years. I'm getting very excited about it. I say, oh my God, I'm going to make so much more money because the world economy is going to crash. We're probably going to a depression. But if you understand Rich Dad, Poor Dad, if you don't need money, you don't care about depressions and all that. If you're an entrepreneur, you're going to make more money during a depression anyway. So it's opposite. And when I'm on tour, this through London and Poland and Romania and Johannesburg, South Africa, I say the same thing. We're going to crash. This is good. This is good. You're probably going to lose your job. Good, good. Maybe you can start your business then. But everything is opposite from what I say and what the academics, like my poor dad, the PhDs, say. So if you can understand that, you might understand why you want to come to these events I teach at, just so you can open your mind just a little bit, just a little bit.
Absolutely. So, we're speaking of all the different cities you're going to be touring. As you guys can see on the screen here, we've got from London, May 4th and 5th, and then next up you've got Warsaw and Bucharest. All the dates are on wealthmasterstour.com, wealthmasterstour.com. You can check that, check out all the dates and details there. Let's continue. So, you're talking about, how your advice is opposite to what is commonly, believed. And for example, most people believe that having high income and low expenses is a good thing. And according to your teachings, you're saying, no, it's not necessarily the best strategy. Why is that?
I don't know. I mean, I didn't go to school. Government wants you to believe. Look, let me give a pitch here. This book just came out. It's called Fake. It just came out. Last week. Amazon's already sold out. They can't get enough of them.
Wow.
And it's a big book. Rich Dad, Poor Dad was launched on my birthday, April 8th, 1997. And Fake was launched on my birthday, April 8th, 2019. And so Fake says fake money, fake teachers, fake assets. So this goes into much more depth behind Rich Dad, why I wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad. But see, the reason people are terrified, they're working for fake money. If you read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, it says the rich don't work for money. Then you have fake teachers. I would say 90% of teachers are good. Not 90, 80% of teachers are good people. The rest of them are kind of bums, They just want a government pension. But what do teachers know about money? And we listen to them. It's like listening to my poor dad. And then you listen to financial planners and stockbrokers and real estate brokers. Most of them are fake teachers also. The reason they're called brokers is because they're broker than you are. So, that's why we listen to fake. We have to work for fake money. We have fake teachers, and we work for fake assets. And
that's pretty depressing.
Generations in serious trouble because their fake assets are, in America, they're called 401ks, or Australia, they're called superannuations. In Canada, they call RRSPs. And they're full with stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and ETFs. That's good for the average guy, but I don't touch them. I don't touch those things because inside Fake, I talk about how I can beat stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs, hands down, with less risk and pay no taxes. So that's what Fake's about. But I think the biggest reason you should come to the events, and I covered this in Fake, is when fake money. This is a little balloon here. Let me show you this here. So in 1971, the US dollar became fake. And this is what happens when you have fake money. That means they could print as much as they wanted. And our schools tell you to work hard for money while the government's printing it. How stupid is that? Why would you work for something they're printing? It doesn't make sense to me. So here is what's happening in the world economy today. This is called Economics 101. I don't know if you're taking economics classes, but they're the most boring things on planet Earth.
Yep. Supply and demand.
M0, M1, M2, M3. I don't know what the heck they were talking about, but this is economics. So here it goes. When you have, in 1971, you had fake money. This is what happened. This is economics today. It's called bubblenomics. So to fix the government's problems, instead of fixing the problems, they print more money. And the market crashed in 1987, and nothing happened. Why? Because it just pumped more money into it. Then in 2000, it crashed again, and not much came down. It was a dot-com bust. So they printed more money. And in 2008, they just kept blowing it up. So it was obvious. This is called bubblenomics. So it blew look at the stock market was at all-time highs, real estate market, jobs were plentiful, construction was high, because it was blowing this bubble. Then 2008, they call it the Great Recession. So what did they do after 2008? More bubblenomics. Today, the world economy is in the biggest bubble there is. Today, after 1971, the US dollar became what's called the PhD standard. Went off the gold standard in 71, and we became the PhD standard. People like my poor dad, like Bernanke and Yellen and those guys who are from academia, they think they know how to manage this bubble economy. So these teachers who are poor people, basically they're smart people, but they keep blowing more air into this bubble. Trump just gave us tax cuts. And the bubble gets bigger and bigger. Now let me ask you this question. Do you have to have a PhD in economics to know what's going to happen next? Look at this thing. Do you have to know what's going to happen? Look at the stock market's an all-time high. Real estate market is all-time high. Businesses are booming because they're borrowing money. People have jobs. I mean, if I keep blowing on this thing, do you have to have a PhD to figure out what's going to happen next? That's it. That's why I write and I speak. We're going into the biggest crash in world history. For some people, it's going to be the best thing that ever happened to them. 2008 was a wonderful time, lovely year. Because when the market crashed, everything went on sale. But millions of people lost their jobs and lost their homes and lost their savings, lost everything. Because our schools teach us nothing about money. This next bust is going to be the biggest in world history. So when I'm on tour in London and Poland and Romania and South Africa, I'm going to be talking about bubble economics or economics run by PhDs who know nothing about money. Remember, PhD, like my poor dad, stands for poor, helpless, and desperate. They don't know anything about money, and we listen to them. They just keep printing money to solve the problem. America's debt to GDP just went over 105 to 105%.
Wow.
That's huge. 60% is bad. 90% is a point of no return. 105% debt to GDP means we're going down. It's going to bust. So the reason when I'm in London and I'm in Poland and I'm in Romania and South Africa, I want you to come in here, what you can do, not to be a victim of this next, probably a depression. I hope not. I hope I'm wrong, and I hope its happy days are here again. You know how big that bubble is today. If you think they can keep blowing more fake money into it, then you should be smoking more weed or something. Because that's what our school system's doing and all that. They don't know what they're doing. But just look at the size of the bubble. You don't need a PhD in economics to know you can't keep blowing it up. You can't have millions of baby boomers all over the world retiring and wanting their retirement check. You can't keep screwing the younger people with bad education and student loan debt. That's what we're doing. So that's why I wrote this book, Fake, here, and that's why I'm going on tour, is because we have, education I don't guarantee, there's nobody's going to guarantee it's going to save you. But you better learn something more than they've taught you in school from those fake teachers. So that's what I'm going to be talking about on this tour. Remember, this bubble is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. It's called bubblenomics, not economics. Stock market, highest in history.
Wow.
Real estate prices, highest in history. Jobs. Everybody's got a job now. Because all these companies are borrowing money to blow this economy bigger. It's not if, just when it goes. So that's what financial education is for. That's why I love to see you in London, Poland, Romania, and South Africa.
Thank you. We're going to get that book for sure. If it's sold out on Amazon, where else can we get the book, Robert?
I don't know, man. If you can't find a book, then you probably can't find the toilet or toilet paper.
All right. Now, let's get that book now.
I mean, the trouble with young people today, many of them are helpless. They have no resiliency. You say something to hurt their feelings, they get all upset. Oh my God, you said something to hurt your feelings. That's why colleges now have safe rooms and you can't say anything that upsets people. I hope I upset a lot of you right now because, ladies and gentlemen, if I'm wrong, fine. You keep blowing this bubble bigger and bigger and happy days are here again. But if it pops, you'll be upset. Especially if mother and father, who are baby boomers like me, lose their retirement. Or you can't pay off your student loan debt. Or the price of your house drops. Or you lose your job. That's what we're looking at. So that's why we have the Wealth Masters Tour with my experts and friends. Just come to learn. There's no guarantees. You want guarantees, get a job with the government. But that's why I teach. That's why the Rich Dad Company was formed 20-something years ago. So I don't know how many more times I'll be touring, but this has been my last tour through Europe for a while. So please come and see and figure out what you want to do next. Because this next crash, if it comes, I hope I'm wrong, but if it comes, it may be a global depression. And for some people, that's bad news. For others, it's good news.
Thank you. Now let's kind of recap here. If you've just joined us, we're here with none other than Robert Kiyosaki, best-selling author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And it just so happens there's a rare opportunity to come and meet and learn from Robert live in person. It's been a number of years since he's been touring Europe, and it could be a number of years before he comes back to Europe. So, join him over a 2-day period, 2 days jam-packed to get your financial education that you're going to really need to map out a path to financial freedom, regardless of what's going to happen in the economy, whether there's going to be another massive crash, as Robert mentioned, that could happen. Book your tickets now by visiting the website link on the screen. He's touring quite a few cities around the world, and there's a very special offer just for attending today's webinar. Please take advantage of the very limited special we're going to put up on the screen very shortly. This is a rare opportunity to come see Robert live in person, to learn from the legend himself, as well as his wealth experts that he's bringing on tour with him. So if you want to create true wealth and financial abundance, you need to learn from real wealth masters, not fake teachers. You're learning about fake money. You're going to learn the real stuff. There's no better person than Robert and his team of experts. Now, for those of you who want to come see Robert in London, here's a small little blurb about the London event. It's the weekend of May 4th and 5th, Saturday, Sunday. And boy, do we have a special for you. Just for the next 24 hours or so until Friday midnight, London time, we want to give you an irresistible offer. Now, along with Robert, there's going to be a bunch of other wealth experts, as you mentioned, including Tom Wheelwright. He's Robert's tax advisor, personal tax advisor, an official Rich Dad advisor. Taxes, Robert mentioned, is the #1 expense, so learning how to minimize that is only going to compound your wealth over time. Then there's Paul McFadden, a local boy who will be speaking as well. He's a high-performance property coach who's done hundreds of millions of dollars in real estate transactions, all the way to Daniel Priestley, a fellow Aussie who's living in London at the moment, the author of Key Persons of Influence. If you want to start a business online business, any business, you need to learn from this Business Accelerator Master. And interestingly, we also have Mark Uzik, who's flying in from the US, and he's a master hypnotist and success coach. He's actually going to be performing something really unique, a really amazing experience if you haven't been through it before. It's the Unleash the Power of Your Mind hypnosis show, where he's going to help you break through your fears and self-doubt and the limiting beliefs you have about money. Because, folks, financial independence starts with the right mindset. You're not going to want to miss this. Now, there's going to be a ticket category for everyone. Robert is really committed to educating the masses. So, you know, there is only going to be about 1,000 seats available at this Ibis London Earls Court venue. It's going to be a rare opportunity to meet Robert himself in person. It starts from silver tickets, which are almost sold out. That's just £99. I think there's less than 40 tickets or so left. To gold tickets, $247. Now with gold, you get an extra bonus day. We had tons of questions about how to get into real estate. And, you know, if you get a gold ticket for just $247, not only get the 2 days with Robert and his wealth experts, but there's a bonus day on the Monday, May 6th. From 9 to 6, it's all about real estate with just one speaker. Property Jumpstart Mastermind with Paul McFadden. You discover the property millionaire mindset, the foundations, the fundamentals, how do you raise finance, everything related to real estate. All right, so that's just for getting a gold ticket for $247. Now, if you want to be a bit more adventurous, there's a diamond ticket for $497, where there's the Property Vault. You get hours and hours, you know, dozens of hours of content online. A lot of people learning online these days. It's a Property Vault by Paul McFadden, valued at $997. You get his physical book as well, an exclusive live webinar with Daniel Priestley. So that's for diamond tickets holders, you know, over £1,000 bonus. And then finally, the ultimate experience, the Millionaire Mastery Roundtable Dinner with Robert Kiyosaki. This is the platinum ticket. It's by application only. There's unfortunately, we just heard today that we sold out most of the tickets. One guy came in and decided to sponsor the event. There's only 5 tickets left, so I had to update the website. It's by application as well. You're going to fill out a short little questionnaire. And so if you're interested in that, just go to wealthmasterslondon.com and apply. It's only 5 spots, unfortunately, list remaining. But you get to have dinner with Robert and his advisors, and there's a very limited number of seats, only 100 people max. And you get to, you know, network with other high net worth individuals. So our final very special offer that we have for everyone, free upgrade. Right? This is just for the webinar. If you're listening live on the webinar, you want to take massive action, go to wealthmasterslondon.com, and we have a special free upgrade from gold to diamond. In other words, you get to get a diamond ticket where you get, number one, the bonus day on the Monday. You get the Property Vault, dozens of hours of content there for just $247. So it's a free upgrade. Don't pay $497. Just for $247, you get 3 jam-packed days of financial education. You just got to use this web discount code on checkout, WEB247. Just write that down, WEB247. This code expires Friday midnight, 19th of April. All right, when you click on the book now, you're just going to enter the code under the discount code, WEB247, and that brings the diamond ticket, which is normally $497, down to just $247. All right, so event details, just check it out on the website. And we'll see everyone in London with Robert Kiyosaki. All right, so let's go back to Robert in a moment here. There we go. Back with Robert. All right. So Robert, we had quite a few questions over the last week or so when we advertised the webinar. Questions related a lot. I can only summarize the 3 or 4 main categories because they're very similar questions. One was related to, a lot of them related to real estate. How does one get started with real estate? How did you get started with real estate, and how does one get into real estate investing?
You take a class. I take classes constantly. You know, Paul McFadden, I would take his class. You know, because let me tell you why. Real estate and being an entrepreneur are different than buying stocks, bonds, and mutual funds and ETFs. You buy a stock, bond, and mutual fund. If you make a mistake, they're liquid. you can get out really quickly. The same if you buy gold or silver, they're liquid, you can get out really quickly. But the moment you start a business or you buy a property, they're highly illiquid. So that means if you make a mistake, you've made a mistake. You can't get out of that property fast enough, or you can't shut your business down fast enough before it bankrupts you. So when I was just starting out, my rich dad said, look, before you become an entrepreneur and before you invest in real estate, you have to have the skills of both an entrepreneur and a property investor. So I take classes constantly. I was just in the Caribbean on the rich guys real estate summit at sea. I'm still taking classes. You know, I go to the New Orleans Investment Conference to learn about gold and oil and precious metals and vegetables and fruits, because I'm constantly learning. But if you don't want to learn, then stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETF, and savings are good. And gold and silver is good because if you screw up, you can sell it really quickly because they're liquid. If you're going to buy something, if you're going to invest in your own business or your own real estate, you've got to be smarter than the average stock, bond, mutual fund, and ETF investor. You've really got to be a lot smarter. So that's why you come to the wealth masters, and you'll meet great teachers and all this, and then go and talk to them. You know, find out what they can teach you. But to think you're Donald Trump or Paul McFadden without practicing, you're crazy. That's like thinking, well, I've taken 2 golf lessons, I'm going to play Tiger Woods. Well, Tiger Woods has been practicing for 40 years. It's going to kick your butt. And so I just don't understand people who don't value financial education. And if you don't value financial education, please don't come. You know, hang out with your friends who are smoking weed and taking opioids or something. You know, I mean, this is not a time to be complacent. When I blew that balloon up that way, it's the biggest balloon in world history. For some people, it's going to be the worst thing when it collapses. For others, it's going to be the best thing that ever happened to them. So when the market crashed in 2008, I borrowed $300 million. And interest rates kept coming down. I just kept buying more real estate because prices were at all-time lows. Today, I'm not buying anything because prices are too high. I'm just waiting for the next crash. They're called cycles. Every industry, every investment has cycles. So if you don't want to study, buy stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and ETFs, buy, hold, and pray, and I'll pray for you too. So that's why I invite people who want to invest in real estate and businesses to come to the Wealth Mastery. You know, I study constantly. It's not a mistake. So I take courses and I learn from smart people who are real teachers. Most people are listening to fake teachers. They're called stockbrokers, real estate brokers, financial planners. They're fake. They don't know what they're doing. They're not rich people. But those are the people that get, because they make it sound so easy, just jump in, you know. When this thing collapses down, you're going to wish you hadn't jumped in. You wish you had waited a little bit. So I'm really tired of talking to people who are just lazy. You have to study today. You know, the greater the risk, the better, the smarter you've got to be. If you don't want to take on risky adventures, then stay in stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs. But trust me, they're going to come down too. When that thing collapses, they'll come down with it.
You had a marine education. You're tough as nuts. That's why you've been able to take a lot of action that a lot of people haven't. How can people get out of the scared mentality?
Hang out with different people. Don't hang out with wimps. You know, my tax guy, Tom Wheelwright, he's the smartest tax guy I met, but he's also a Mormon. He was a Mormon missionary for his education. He spent years knocking on doors trying to convert Catholics to Mormonism. You can do that. You can do anything. That's why I recommend network marketing for people. Now, if you can't do network marketing, you shouldn't really be in this business. You should just get a job and work for the government and hope for a pension.
Final words before we wrap up here. We're near the top of the hour. You know, for people, let's say they're baby boomers, and they're really worried, as you said, about the 401k situation, concerned about the crashes. Get education, number one. Obviously, they're going to go out and get the books and courses. What other advice do you have for them?
Well, I'm obviously in there I talk about how I get infinite returns on my money. And infinite return means I don't need money. So in here I share my formula. It's also Trump's formula. It's also how Trump pays no taxes legally. Or you can listen to these idiots out there who don't know what to do. They're poor people. So all I can say to you is birds of a feather flock together. You know, one of the reasons I'm winding down my touring day because I'm really tired of talking to people who just want to be told what to do. Just give me an answer. What should I buy? Should I flip a house? Look, sports fans, this economy is about to go like this. I hope I'm wrong. But we may be heading into a very big depression. We just came out of a recession, and we may be heading into a depression. Now, the good news is, for those who are entrepreneurs, this little baby here is going to be the best tool you ever had, because when things are really bad, you can go and this will give you access to the world of money, of investing, of businesses, of opportunities. But if you have the mindset of my poor dad, then you'll wait for a government pension and job security and a steady paycheck. If that's your mindset, then this wealth mastery course is not for you. We've got to have good public servants and employees and all that. We just want job security and pay the rent and buy a car and a little house. But this is not for those people. You know, it's not for people like my poor dad. This is for people who want to be like my rich dad. People who really want to see this as the most exciting time in world history. Because that's how I see it. This next, you know, if this thing goes like this could be the time you're waiting for. You know, everything's going to go on sale. What a great time. But if you're running in fear, like 90% of the people will be, then you can't think. And that's going to be a lot of part of this wealth mastery. Is I'm coming there with my other teams, my spiritual team. These are entrepreneurs who tell you how to control your spirit and your emotion to handle the trying times that are coming ahead. Because if you're terrified, the opportunities will go right past you. If you're excited about them, if you're ready for it, it's going to be the best time of your whole life. Don't miss the biggest opportunity in world history or the biggest crash in world history. The choice is up to you.
Thank you, Robert. It's been a tough interview. We really laid it down for people that if they're going to prosper in the next years to come, they're going to take massive action. So thank you, Robert, for your time and your insights. We're looking forward to meeting you in person in London, Warsaw, Bucharest, Johannesburg later in the year. Before we sign off, once again, if you just joined us or we've just tailing off here, you want to see Robert live, come meet him, go to wealthmasterstour.com. There'll be some specials on the screen momentarily, depending on which country you've been checking this out from. For those of you who are in London, we have a special for you. Not only are there going to be some amazing speakers from J.W. Wilson, didn't mention him, the founder of Advanced Learning Institute, Sandy Jadeja, Chief Financial Strategist, John McGregor, CEO of Financial Transformation, along with Paul McFadden, a real estate expert, Tom Wheelwright. How often get a chance to learn from Robert Kiyosaki's personal tax advisor, over a 2-day period. Very rare indeed. So come along, tickets starting from just £99, all the way to Diamond, $497. However, we mentioned a very special offer for the Diamond category. Don't pay $497. Don't even pay the $397 early bird price just for this webinar, just for the next 24 hours. Go to wealthmasterslondon.com. Get a Diamond ticket, one of the best seats in the house. Free bonus day on real estate on Monday. Type in the discount code WEB247, WEB247 on checkout, and that will bring the $497 price down to just $247, which is a great value. Get all the bonuses as well. So come and see Robert Kiyosaki live in London at the Ibis London Earls Court. You want to have dinner with him, there's only 5 spots available. It's by application. Go to the website, check all the information out there, and grab those bonuses before this coupon code expires tomorrow night, Friday midnight. Once again, the coupon code WEB247, just for the diamond ticket. On that note, I'm going to bring back the host, and signing off once again. Thank you very much, Robert. We'll see you around the world. Back to you guys. Thank you, Robert.
Thank you.
Wow, that's awesome. Thank you so much, Robert and Kian. Thank you both for this eye-opening interview. So guys, how many of you are excited about what Robert just shared with us? Let me ask you a question. Would it be amazing if you could spend 2 full days with Robert and his Rechstad Wealth Masters to go deep into all the money-making strategies you need to set up a life of financial abundance? So visit wealthmasterslondon.com and use the special promo code WEB247. Thank you so much, everyone, for your time for attending. I'll see you at Wealth Master 2. Bye.